Hey, shalom, shalom. I'm going to read the book of Matthew, chapter 7. Well, I'm going to title this lesson, You Shall Know Them by Their Fruits. And before we start into this live lesson, I'd like to give all honor, praise and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Kakadash, double honor to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the whole full elect. Now, in this lesson, you shall know them by their fruits, and this comes from the passage here, where the subtitle is Matthew chapter 7, the 7th chapter, and the subtitle is A Tree and Its Fruits. Now, when you read from verses 15 to 20, these 5 verses, Yahweh Shah is basically comparing man's works to liken onto fruit, and that those that are wicked, right, including false prophets, they will be considered as bad fruit, right, and those that are righteous, right, those that are serving the Lord, that have the truth and serving the Lord, right, their works will be good fruit. You see what I'm saying? But if you're wicked and you are a false prophet, you will bear bad fruit. Okay, so let's get into it. Matthew 7:15. It says, "Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravaging wolves," right? Because wolves, when they around a herd of sheep, they hide themselves in the victims, in the skin, in the victims. From saying it pronounced, they hide themselves in the sheep's skin, so they kill a sheep and then hide themselves in the skin, right? So let's look at this, wolves, and we're gonna get into this in a second, because this is the video that you see in the screen is from the elder, not the Zotbot, from South Carolina, and the title of his lesson was "Juicy Proof Christianity is a Failure." And I only watched just the short clips that he was showing, because if you've seen the elder's lessons, he shows short clips that kind of set the theme or the tone for the lesson. So as I was watching the short clips, that would kind of just inspired me to push the button. Okay, now hopefully you can hear me. Let's go into the behavior, right? It says yes. According to the so I typed in Google, do wolves hide in sheep's skin? Okay, sheep's skin. Okay, this is according to the Google AI overview. It says yes. The phrase "the wolf in sheep clothing" describes someone who pretends to be harmless or kind like a sheep, but is actually dangerous and malicious, a wolf. Okay, so that's these false prophets and these wicked, leaders out here who, because of their philanthropy, because of their kindness, and because they're wearing expensive suits and expensive clothing, they have a soft voice and they know how to speak to the people. They're good speakers, right? They come off as sincere, right, to the simple. Because remember, the scripture said the simple believeth every word. So to the simple, the ones that don't have this truth, they come off to the people as sincere and trustworthy, right? But really, they're dangerous because the doctrines that they're teaching is completely off. All right. Sakya. There it is right there. Let me see. It's another example. Let me type it this way. Type it this way. Salakia. Here it is. This is more accurate, right? Because it was on point where it gave that description. You know what I'm saying? Saying, basically was roughly paraphrasing. Not roughly paraphrasing, but it was a good summary. It was a good summary. But this is the summary I was looking for. So Salakia, it was a good summary, but this is the one I was looking for. This is and thank you for your patience. This is wolf. I typed in on Google, how do wolves hide among sheep? Right? It says, according to the Google AI overview, wolves hide among sheep by wearing sheep's skin, learning their ways and mimicking their behavior to gain trust. And that's the characteristics of these false leaders. As it says in Isaiah 9:16, that leaders cause thy people to err, because these false leaders have the same habits, right? They have the same patterns, right? They know how to work a crowd, so to speak, and they work a crowd in a way to gain trust. And once they gain the trust of the people, this is when they start to bring in damnable heresies and false doctrines, damnable heresies, false doctrines, and which are false doctrines, by the way. And they start making outrageous demands, because now they gain the people trust, right? Because they knew how to work a crowd. All right. They knew what to say, how to look, and how to present themselves, and and how to speak in a tone where people can receive them. They know how to be received, right? Because there's a saying that says, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And with these false leaders, right, especially these pastors in Christianity, they know how to say things to win over the crowd, to get people gains people trust and acceptance. Okay. It says wolves hide among sheep by wearing sheepskin, learning their ways and mimicking their behavior to gain trust. But they are eventually revealed by their predatory actions, like leading sheep astray or attacking them. And that's what you see amongst these false leaders, man. You see amongst these pastors in these churches, these false prophets, that they're really not sincere, that they're not trustworthy at all, because they show them their true selves through their actions, right? Like, it remind me, the description that we just read, remind me of the time where, you had Marvin Sapp last year. He told the ushers, when he visited the church, he told the ushers to close the doors, and he wasn't going to let anybody that was amongst that church, that was in the congregation, he wasn't going to let nobody out until they paid him, I don't know, like an outrageous amount. I don't know, it was $50K or whatever number it was, but he wasn't going to let nobody out the church until he got that outrageous amount. Because he said it pays to be here, right? Because he was a guest speaker of that church. And you brothers that know the Marvin Sapp story from last year, you know what I'm saying? The Marvin Sapp story, it wasn't really last year. It was actually 2 years ago, in 2024. But you and the brothers that know or are familiar with that story, you can look it up. But that's what actually, I just brought up that story to show you that, that he showed that he wasn't sincere, man. That he was a false prophet, man, because he's asking for an unreasonable demand of the people, right? What about that time where you had that pastor? Remember, it was the elders did a lesson on it. It was a pastor that it was a woman that was amongst the congregation, and she was short because he called everybody with 1,000 and more to come and give donations, but she was short, and he cursed her out. Okay. Let me bring up these receipts, because somebody gonna say, I don't believe you. You making this stuff up. All right. This was all on TMZ. The Marvin Sapp situation was on TMZ. Was on TMZ, man. You know what I'm saying? It says Marvin Sapp closed the doors referred to a viral video where he asked ushers to shut the doors during an offering at a 2024 convention. See? Prompting backlash for seeming to hold the congregation captive for donations, though he explained it was for security/noise. And we know that if you watch the video yourself on YouTube, you know that was bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We understand that he was doing that for the bread. He clearly said his amount, that he wasn't going to let nobody out until he get a certain amount of money, right? So it says, continue on, it says, though he explained it was for security/noise, not confinement, and later used the phrase for a song about overcoming negativity, symbolizing closing the door on pain and controversy, right? So you see, Jake, the word Jake means to supplant. So Jake was trying to supplant here, you know, because when we say Jake, we're talking about Israelite, you so-called Black, Latinos, and Native Americans. When Jacob received the Jacob name, right, which is our forefather, okay, his name means to supplant because he supplanted his brother Esau out of the blessing, all right? So the word Jacob means to supplant. So you have Jake. So when I say Jake, Jake is always trying to supplant. I'm talking about Marvin Sapp, right? Because Marvin Sapp is a Jake, okay? And he's from the tribes, all right? He would, you know, he's from the tribes, right? He's from the tribes, so-called Black, Latino, Native American. While he identifies himself as black, or he consider himself black. You know, only the Lord knows what tribe he is specifically. But what the point being is that he's from the tribes, right? And that and we know this through faith. You know, we know this by faith. You know that he's definitely from the tribes, man. Because you can't hide an Israelite spirit, man. And that's and a real Israelite would try to supplant. You know, they'll try to flip. They'll try to kind of like twist the situation to their favor, a disadvantageous situation into their favor, or they'll try to work an angle. That's a Jake-like spirit. That's what Jake tried to do. You know what I'm saying? So in this case, Marvin Sapp, he was supplanting in the sense that he was trying to when the summary said that he tried to that his comment about closing the doors, you know, he turned it into a song about overcoming negativity and try to explain that no, it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? That's supplanting. He's bullshitting. Okay, he was clearly bullshitting. All right, it says the incident sparked memes and debate about church fundraising, with Sapp apologizing for his absurd tone, but standing by the need for stewardship, turning into controversy into a positive message about spiritual survival. See, more bullshit, because he knew he was wrong. That's why he apologized. But see, he's trying to spin it off as, you know, about stewardship. He's trying to spin it off as him, you know, trying to spin it off into a song. Like he's trying to lighten the light on it, so to speak, and trying to make it seem as if it, you know, try to make it seem it's not as bad as it was, what it is, you know, because he clearly made that point. And look, it said he wanted 40,000. You know what I'm saying? So he clearly said that. And you see the video, you would know what I'm talking about. And he can't hide from that. You know, it's recorded. Okay. What's the other dude? The other guy. By pastor. And I'm just showing this for receipts, you know, so people don't think I'm making this up. See, this was last year. It says a viral video from October 2025, was literally a few months ago. It says the viral video from October 2025 showed Pastor Bishop Marvin Winans of Perfecting Church in Detroit, Michigan, appearing to scold a church member, Roberta McCoy for donating $1,235 instead of the requested $2,000 during a day of giving fundraiser. See? And just like the scripture says in Sirach 12:10, you know, that you know, I'm gonna get that. Sirach 12:10. These people can't hide themselves, man. They can't hide their wickedness, and this is what the Lord is gonna explain with the parable of the tree and the fruit, because they can't hide who they truly are, right? No matter how well they speak, how well they dress, right? What they try to convey and say, they can't hide that they're wicked. You know what I'm saying? They can't hide their true intentions, right? Which is really with a lot of these false leaders and prophets. You know, it's always a money push. You know, you got those that bring in false doctrines that just, you know, trying to bring in false doctrines to cause problems. But then you got others that always want a money push. You know, they want to they only teaching for filthy lucre's sake, as the scriptures say, right? They're teaching for filthy lucre's sake. So, all right, let me get that Sirach. And you got a lot of men in Israel that do that. You know, they teach for filthy lucre, and you can see because they charging you for Hebrew prayers, they charging you for a Hebrew name, they charging you for breakdowns, and it's always about merchandising every aspect of the truth. They even when they do their live lessons or their lessons, you know, they got their Cash App at the bottom, you know, in the description. You know what I'm saying? They asking for donations. They telling you where to put the donations. And the thing is, right, with our elder apostles and elder bishops, right, those that follow, you know, Great Millstone, we understand that our elder apostles and elder bishops and brothers in Great Millstone, they never ask for money, man. They never ask their congregation. They never charge their congregation a fee to watch a video or to watch their lessons at all. You know what I'm saying? All their lessons is free on YouTube. You can go on any page and see it for yourself. All their lessons is free. They never charge brothers to watch to learn a lesson or to watch a video or to join a live, right? They never had, you know what I'm saying, to join a live, or they never put their Cash App, right, or their Zelle name or their Cash App tag, right, in the description for donations, man. All right, they never do that because they sincere men, and they're about the work, bro, and that's what it's about. They're about teaching as it is written, you know, freely get how you say it, freely gain, freely give. What did the Lord said that in Matthew the 10th chapter? See? See if I get that. Freely give. Because that's how it's supposed to be with this truth. You know what I'm saying? Lessons and breakdowns and, you know, answering questions. That's supposed to be for free. You know, you ain't supposed to be giving no consultation fees and other fees that, you know what I'm saying? Just to learn the truth. That's wicked, man. It says, Matthew 10:8, it says, heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. So this was a commandment that Yahweh Shah was given to the original 12, right? You know, perform, and the Lord Yahweh Shah, through his father Yahweh, right? Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah imbued the power to the 12 to be able to perform these high level miracles, right? It says, heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. So we're supposed to, this truth supposed to be free. It's not supposed to be of charge, you know. And the accounts that I brought up is you have men of Marvin Sapp and that other one, William. Oh no, Marvin. What's the guy name? Winans,